This entire military is one cohesive, dedicated force. And the threats to our nations, they don't sleep. They're watching our every move. Iran, Russia, China, North Korea, ISIS, Al-Qaeda. They may be watching this right now. Our military should not be mistaken for a cable news gabfest show. We don't care what you look like. We don't care who you voted for, who you worship, what you worship, who you love. It doesn't matter if your dad left you millions when he died or if you knew who your father was. We have been honed into a machine of lethal moving parts that you would be wise to avoid if you know what's good for you. We will not be intimidated. We will not back down. We don't want war. But if you want war with the United States of America, there's one thing I can promise you, so help me God. Someone else will raise your sons and daughters.
Military Broadcast Radio, the station that's giving veterans a voice.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Join Terry with Tracer Rounds every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central to hear interviews with veteran artists, veteran business owners, and businesses that support veterans. Tune in to see if you're on target. Catch us on Roku, Amazon Fire TV, and MB Radio.
Hi, welcome to Tracer Rounds. I'm your host, Terry, and you are on MBR, Giving Veterans a Voice. And tonight we're giving a voice, and we're giving a veteran his voice tonight, and it's Moses Braveheart, and he is with the South Dakota Army National Guard.
Yes.
Right. So I came across your story, and I was really, really interested in it because I think that it's a really good time for soldiers to be in the military, because the Army and the military in general is becoming more aware that they need to be more sensitive to cultural differences. But at the same time, you know, we're all the same, but we're different, and we celebrate things differently, and our cultures are different, and what the norms are and the expectations of one culture isn't necessarily what another culture is. And so are you Lakota or are you Sioux?
So it's Lakota. So Sioux isn't really like a tribe. I know. So back in the day, whenever there's the settlers or colonizers, whatever you want to call them, coming from the East Coast, I know they got to, I can't remember which tribe it was, but closer towards the East Coast anyways. They called it a certain name. I forgot what the name was in their language, but then the settlers, they could only pronounce the ending, and the ending was Sioux. So ever since then, it just kind of stuck.
I see. It was just something that they came up with because it was easy for them at the time.
Yeah.
Sounds like it. So tell me a little bit about why you wanted to join the military, and tell me, how the military service is seen in your culture versus maybe some other occupations.
I think one of the reasons why I wanted to join, just because I wanted to get away from the reservation and all, the kind of negative stuff there, and for travel opportunities, and I think the school benefits, especially with the National Guard. But I think one of the biggest things kind of make me want to stay in, and I'm glad that I joined, was like the camaraderie. I think that's one of the biggest things that not much people overlook. And a lot of people from the outside probably think natives have a negative. Some do have a negative viewpoint against the military just because of the past.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you look at the numbers and the percentage, way back in the day, there's a lot of Native Americans that did join the military, whether it's Army or Marines or whatever.
Right. So, and So tell us a little bit about your unit and how many years you've been in now, and maybe some of your assignments, because I know you were in the North Dakota Army National Guard as well, and you transferred to South Dakota in 2024, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was I was part of an MP battalion up there in Bismarck, North Dakota. And it wasn't until probably a little after deployment I decided to transfer down to the South Dakota Guard just because it'd be easier with traveling and whatnot. But now I'm with the MP company, so it's a little different going from a battalion unit down towards a line level unit. Now, like I like it because we're going outside to do field training exercises and actually doing like your soldier tasks and drills.
So you're an MP for your MOS, right?
No, it's like radio operator, signal
Oh,
support
okay.
systems. But so I have a slot to get reclassed to a 31 Echo, which is a like a detentions and corrections specialist. So
Oh, okay. Well, hopefully you'll get your slot. Hopefully one will open up for you.
oh yeah.
So, tell me about your deployment. How long were you there, and where did you go? If you can tell me. If you can't, that's fine. I understand. But just a little bit about
I'll give you
your backstory.
like a general idea of like
Okay.
stuff, but nothing really specific, obviously.
Yes.
So it was towards the Middle East. It was like 9 months in country, and like 1 month was pre-mobbing and demobbing down in down in Texas. So
That's where I am. I'm in Texas.
oh, okay, nice. Yeah, it's not too bad down there. I like it.
Yeah, it's warmer, but it's cold right now, though. I think it's almost as cold as where you are. I don't know, but we were down in the low 20s this morning.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's definitely cold.
Yeah.
But yeah. So it was more of the MP job, like the customs part of it. I mean, it wasn't anything crazy. So, but I mean, like I was the good part of it was like getting to travel to like several different countries. I was able to visit Dubai while I was over there and Abu
Nice.
Dhabi, which is pretty nice. It's wild because back in high school, I read of Dubai and like the man-made islands and the Burj Khalifa. I'm like, I'm never gonna be able to go there. I'm from the reservation. I'm just this young kid that won't be able to do much. But like the military gave me the opportunity. Is wild to just be there and see everything. So
Yeah, that's one thing the military does do for you. It puts you in places you never think you'd ever be. Like, I went to Germany, and I went to Jamaica, and I went to other places with the military. And, I never thought I would get there either. I'm from Idaho. So I
yeah,
understand the mentality of, that's probably something that's out of my lane, or that's, I'm not going to get there. And then, you join the military and you find out you have a lot more opportunity than you ever thought you had.
oh,
And it's a
yeah, for
small
sure.
community, but it's big at the same time. I mean, because we travel in small circles, really, because you end up finding people that have been in a unit that you were in, or at the same time you were there. I mean, like it's just like old friends week when you get together with some, veterans or some people that are still serving. You find out a lot of the same people. So it like you said, it's about camaraderie, I think.
Yeah, I saw a person that went to basic training over there in the Middle East. So it's kind of wild to see him there.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. It's neat to see people like that. Sometimes you're like, "Okay, I know you, but I'm not sure
Yeah,
from where."
yeah.
So, tell now, I don't think I didn't really preface your story and why I'm really interested in your story in any which way, but I'm really interested in your, religious exemption, or I guess it's a hair exemption. It's not really, it's sort of religious, I guess, in a way. But tell us the story, how that all came about, and just kind of for the audience, if you don't mind, just kind of recapping where you were and where you are now with that.
I think so. I've had questions about it and brought it up to like a chaplain a couple times before leaving on deployment. And in my mind, I was like, well, it's going to be out of the state, so it's going to be a lot difficult. And so I was kind of giving myself that little pushback. And whenever I asked the chaplain about it, which is kind of wild, I don't really want to throw dirt on his name, but it was he kind of gave me pushback too. So I just figured whatever, I'll try to try to do it whenever I come back.
Yeah.
And then I've read the story about Connor Cron and how he got his approval. Then I was like, well, like, if they could do it, like, why can't I? So that's whenever I really started pushing towards it, and I pushed it up to my chain of command, which was my captain, the company commander of the unit that I was at in in North Dakota, and he was really like, all for it. It's like, well, okay, well, just give me this. We need this to start it, and then after that, the ball just started kind of rolling, and then on deployment, I had to talk to some of the chaplains over there and like some of the higher ups over there, just because it was getting to that level of
Yeah.
getting pushed up. So I was like, well, this is cool, and a lot of them were very supportive about it. So then coming back on deployment, he told me, yeah, it's going to take up to a year. I was like, okay, that's fine. Like, I'm patient. So I was
Right.
like, yeah, that's cool. But he texted me like a month later and was like, hey, check your iPerms. And then I checked it, and sure enough, it was approved. And man, I don't know. I remember the feeling that day.
I can only imagine just the relief and the sense of like accomplishment that you must have had. Because how long was the process, did you say? Because they told you it could take up to a year, but how long did it actually take you from when you started talking to people to when you finally got the approval?
So it took about a year, and I think a lot of people that I really talked to didn't really have an idea of how long it would take, because not really what people that I talked to never heard of anyone pushing up for religious accommodation yet, like even something with the Native American culture.
Yeah.
So it's just something not really heard of people doing. So I was kind of in the dark with the time slot. So
How long is your hair now, and how long have you been growing it out?
I think it's towards my mid back now, or my upper back. I don't know how long it is, but it's like it's been a year and almost 6 months.
Wow. That's awesome. So I know you probably get pushback from other people about like how can you be in the military? You've got long hair. Do you get a lot of that still, or are people getting more educated, or are they sensitive to it? Or what's the general consensus when they see you in uniform and you have long hair?
In person, it's not really. I didn't have really anyone come up to me and say, "Hey, that it shouldn't be like this" or whatever.
Hmm.
Which is I'm glad, like, I didn't really have any of that, and I know yet some people will. I get like little weird looks,
Yeah.
but for the most part, people have been keeping their opinion to themselves in person. But on social media wise, it's a lot different.
Yeah, social media is crazy, and sometimes you get people real supportive, and then sometimes you get people that just don't know when to say when. They just go off, and they don't really need to. Um, but so I'm curious, does it encourage other Native Americans to join, knowing that they don't have to cut their hair, that they can get an exemption? Does it help with recruiting among Native Americans?
I'm sure it definitely does. I know there's some stories that I heard about people cutting their hair, and their hair is like way longer than mine whenever they joined or before they left to basic and whatnot. And that was that's a big thing for us whenever we have to cut our hair, especially if it's like, to the point where how long those people's hair was. It was like to their mid back, to their lower back is definitely long.
Yeah.
And they made a bigger sacrifice than I did. And I'm grateful that like my story was out there.
How long was your hair when you cut it for the military when you joined? Because you joined in 2020, right?
Yeah, it wasn't too long. I know it's more of a more mid length. I know through college I was going to school for criminal justice. So at the time I was like, well, I didn't really see any like, police officers or anyone working in corrections having long hair. So I knew that they had the same like, military standard
Right.
whenever it came to
They're
appearances.
paramilitary. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to take a quick break. And I don't know if you've ever heard of Blue Mountain Tribe, but they're a Native American blues band that I interviewed before, and I really love their music. So I'm going to play Love and Understanding, and then we'll be right back with Moses Braveheart.
opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Welcome back to Tracer Rounds, and I'm your host, Terry, and you are on MBR, where we're giving veterans a voice, and our veteran tonight, he's actually currently serving, is Moses Braveheart, and you're with the South Dakota National Guard, Army National Guard, I should clarify, because there are two, Air and Army. So I'm curious, I'm not even know how long do you ever, I know this is a weird question, but I just have a question about, do you ever cut your hair? I know that it's usually cut for ceremonial reasons like mourning, things like that, but is it ever cut? Is like too long? Is there ever a point where it's too long?
Not necessarily. I think the only other time I probably would cut it if like I've been bad split ends, dead ends, or something like that. But it wouldn't really be anything crazy, you know. Just keep it healthy.
Well, I was just curious if you just let it grow, and you know how long it would actually grow, and if that's really something that is customary to do.
Yeah, usually, I mean, there's not really a certain length that we grow it to. Just pretty much long is just
Yeah. So, do you have problems with your? I mean, females don't have problems typically with their hair in like the Kevlar or the mask or anything like that. Do you find any trouble with any of those things?
No, not at all. I think the only trouble I do have is like whenever, because I don't use much gel, is I got little strands popping out whenever I take my ACH off or whatever.
Yeah, I know that. I know how that works.
Yeah.
I had troubles with that too. The drill sergeant used to get after me all the time. He's like, get that hair up or get it cut. I was like, yes,
Yeah.
drill sergeant.
Yeah.
They're pretty decided about that. So, do you do you go around talking to people and educating people about religious exemption or about culture or anything like that? Do you typically do something like that for the military or just on behalf of Native American service members?
What I've been wanting to do is, so I've talked with the recruiting station here, and like, you know, saying that like, you know, I'm more than happy to help out and like go to whenever you guys have like career fairs, going to their booth and like, you know, just kind of trying to have people join. And there's a big native population here because I'm only an hour away from the reservation. So just trying to educate the natives here and have them join and like, you know, share my story to them.
Yeah, I think that would be a really great recruiting tool is for you to just go and tell your story. I had a captain who was on my show. It's probably like 3 or 4 months ago, and he tried 16 times to get into the military, and they wouldn't let him in because he didn't want to shave his beard or take off his turban or anything like that. And so he actually went and lobbied some really big heavy hitters in Washington, D.C. to get where he could get an exemption where he could get in. And so I wonder if some of what he did helps you on your side of it, because his process took a long time. I don't even remember how many years. I think it might have been 2 or 3, if I'm remembering correctly, that it took him to fight his fight to get, because he's a Sikh warrior. And so they have the beards and turbans and whatnot. And he just so wanted to join, but he didn't want to, cut his hair or cut his beard, and he wanted to be able to wear his turban. And so, like I was saying, I think the Army now has really, or the military in general, maybe not just Army, but the military in general has become more accommodating, and especially since, they're allowing different hairstyles for females too, that they've never allowed. Before you had to have your hair all the way up, and it had to be all the way back, and it couldn't have any flyaways any which way, or, there was going to be some trouble. But now, you can wear it kind of down, or the ponytails and whatnot. And it's really surprising to me because I was in the military. I just retired in December, and I was in for 33 and a half years. And during that 33 and a half years, I've seen so much change in the military that I've ever seen. Because when I joined, you had to shine your boots, you had to iron your uniforms. That was something that everybody did. I mean, and your uniform pretty much had to stand up by itself because it had to be starched so heavy. But now the uniforms are wash and wear, and now there's no boots to shine. And now they're becoming a little more accommodating, for religious or cultural expression than they've ever been, which I think is really great. And that's why I was so impressed with your story, that you were able to still serve and then yet keep culture and keep your cultural traditions. And I think that's just an amazing thing. Um, that's where we are as an organization, as a military, as a country, is that we celebrate the diversity that makes us so great. So what are your future plans? I know you're a specialist now. Do you plan to stay in the military? What are your plans?
So I have like less than a year because my contract is up next January.
Mhm.
I know the unit been talking about an E5 slot opening up and that I should apply. So I did put my application in, and they do interviews next month. So I'm looking forward to that. And with reclassing to a new MOS, I
Yeah.
think it'd be pretty good. I really have high hopes of staying in and probably gonna re-up my contract, especially with how much the guard really pushed my story out. I think that really
Yeah.
was a big thing. So I really want to show my appreciation by still serving the state.
Yeah, I mean, I saw it. I don't remember where I saw it exactly, but I saw your story and I was so impressed. I was like, I got to get in contact with this guy. I need to have him on the show because
Yeah,
you have such a great story, because you were willing to cut your hair, and you did, to get in. But then once you were in, you said, I really want to celebrate my own culture. I really, can I do this? And within a year, you were doing this. And I think that's just so amazing that that you were able to do that, and that you had people that were helping you, because a lot of times some of these battles you have to fight on your own. No one's there to help you. You got to pick up the sword and start slashing away, trying to get to the end goal. And here you are having people kind of help you navigate those waters that they're often very difficult to go through. So I applaud you for doing it, first of all, and then for those that supported you in that effort, because that's amazing.
yeah. I think that was the biggest part of it. Was like not only getting approved, obviously, but then getting the story out so more people could start doing the same thing. And there have been several people that reached out to me, whether they're active duty or reserve or on the guard somewhere else. Like, hey, I'm starting my process because I saw your article or saw the videos about you.
Yeah.
So I think that's pretty cool, because that was my ultimate goal, what I wanted to get done.
Do you know if you're the only Native American to get that exemption so far, or have there been others before you, or do you know?
So I know there's been others before me. I think a couple other people. So yeah,
Yeah.
not the
Uh,
first, but
Have they reached out to you or anything? Or you said you've heard from other people that are applying, but has anybody that's applied and got some type of exemption, have they reached out to you?
I know that there's actually another person in my state on the east side that got his approved. I don't know. I can't remember how long ago it was, but he's saying congratulations, and very supportive of it, and which is cool. There could be that other side where some people are like, hey, you weren't the first one. Why is your story blowing up? I was the first one. So for him to really congratulate me and support me is really cool. And then vice versa.
Well, I think your story is blowing up because, first of all, the social media that we have now that we didn't have in the past. So everything is front page social media platforms now, where it wasn't before. And I think also that I think the messaging from the military, they really want the stories out to recruit, because recruitment is not as easy as it once was. And so getting the word out saying, we celebrate diversity in our organization. And so it's good messaging for the military too, to have that out there in the space so that people know that's an opportunity if they want to join, but then they're worried or concerned that they're going to lose their own identity.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I share your Instagram? So if somebody wants to reach out to you and talk to you about it and maybe talk about the process?
Yeah, you could.
So that's your Instagram, right? Did I get it right? Okay, perfect. So if anybody wants to reach out to Moses, he's willing to help you and kind of talk to you, it sounds like. And so you said you plan to stay in. Do you plan to make it a career, or do you plan to just maybe serve a couple of contracts and then go on to something else? You said you were taking college. Are you still going to pursue like law enforcement, or are you detention, or what are you planning?
So right now I'm actually a supervisor at the jail here in town. So
Okay.
So making a career out of that, and then with guard wise, there's always going to be opportunities to further my career there.
Yeah.
So I think ultimately, part of me is like, I wonder if I should stay in, but I think I will eventually. I'm just going to stay in, and just do what I could do on the military side, and just what I call like the awards that you put on your uniform, chest candy.
Yeah, chest candy. I like that. I don't think I've heard it put that way. I've heard it called a ribbon rack, and so I don't remember the other term I heard, but I like the candy. Yeah. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Well, so we're going to take another quick break, and I don't know if you like that last song, but I have another one that I want to play by Blue Mountain Tribe, and it's one of my favorites. It's called "Pray for Our Planet." So I'm going to play that one, and we'll be right back with Moses Braveheart.
The land is sacred. These words are at the core of your being. The land is our mother. The rivers are blood. Take our land away and we die. That is, the Indian in us dies. Mary Bravebird, Lakota.
Pray for our planet. Something's going wrong. Pray for our planet. Something's going wrong. Coal mines, compromise, the dripping the skin. The killing of the nature is a terrible sin. Pray for our planet. Something's going wrong. Plagues and disease, violence everywhere. They're killing all the nature and nobody cares. Anger and hatred, all they want to do is fight. I pray to the Father in this sacred time. It's gonna be alright. Get some tobacco, grab your safe, paint your pony, paint your face, raise your feather at a sacred place. Mother Earth is dying, it's a damn disgrace.
together and tell the world no more hatred and no more lies. Your skin color, race, religion, other people's opinion will not divide us, will not divide us.
Opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Welcome back to MBR, and this is the Tracer Rounds podcast, and I'm your host, Terry, and with me tonight is Moses Braveheart, who is in the South Dakota Army National Guard, and he did get a religious exemption for wearing his hair customary long, as Native American culture typically is the norm. So how does that make you feel, like you've been given that acknowledgement? I mean, that just has to just really touch you in a way that I don't think much else can, to know that you were heard and that your culture is celebrated just like everybody else's.
It definitely, has me, I guess, in a way you could say, like, kind of walking a bit different now that there's more eyes on me, and now, like, that I'm a role model. But it's definitely still, I try to live by the Lakota values, the Army values, but it's kind of like some of them actually tie in with each other because some of it's kind of the same.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a little different, but at the same time, it's still not so much different because I still try to live, in a humble, how like a Lakota man should be raised,
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about your culture and what the expectation of somebody your age and just what's typical, I guess, for a Lakota? You're younger, so I don't know how old you are, and I'm not going to make you tell me. But for somebody your age, what would be the typical Lakota protocol for you?
Like back in the day, or kind of like modern times, how it
I
is?
think both, kind of where you come from and where it is now and how it's evolved into, what the expectation is now.
I think so. Like back in the day, obviously, like providing, whether it's hunting, taking care of like your family. I know back in the day, it used to be a thing where you have like more than one wife. It wasn't how people kind of make it out to modern day.
Yeah.
As more of, let's say you had a good buddy and he ended up passing in war or in battle, or got sick, whatever, and his wife, well, obviously she's a widow now. Now you kind of take in his wife. If they had any family members, now you're taking care of them.
Mm-hmm.
And that was more of you're taking on more responsibility. You got more mouths to feed, more people to look after.
Yeah.
So it's just respecting others, respecting yourself, and then respecting any living animals, and I think one of the biggest things like nature first.
Right.
So, and then also living in a humble manner, and not so much like bragging about stuff that you do or that you did in the past. I think one of the people that I try to live up to is Crazy Horse. He was
Oh
a
yeah.
pretty well known chief
Yeah.
back in the day, even now. So yeah,
Speaking of that, of Crazy Horse, that memorial is that his monument is really coming into shape now. Like they've got a lot done since I last visited. I visited just after COVID was kind of over, and they
yeah,
hadn't got a whole lot done. And I just seen a recent update, and I saw how much they have done on it, and it is massive. It is one of
it's
the
pretty huge. Yeah,
biggest monuments I think I've ever seen, and I know it's bigger than Mount Rushmore. Um, and I know that they don't ever stop working on it unless there's just some kind of really big weather event where they just can't. Have you been to see it?
yeah. I've been up there multiple times. I know
Have
on
you?
like school trips, we'll go up there for a field trip and whatnot.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So did you actually get to go up on the monument or did you just see it from down below? I just saw it from below.
I just usually see it below. There's what they call a Volksmark march. You pay like $10, or you could bring like some type of food because they donate the food that you bring for like the fee,
Hmm.
and you could hike up there. Actually, I think it's sometime in September.
Oh,
So
wow. That would be cool.
yeah, that would be nice.
Yeah, that is the coolest monument though. Like I just was so impressed with it. I just can't believe the scale of it. It is just enormous.
Yeah,
And when it's done, it's going to be so neat. I can't wait. I don't know if it'll ever be done in my lifetime, but I hope so.
yeah, it would be nice to see.
Yeah. So, do you have any family members that served in the military, or is it just you so far?
I had an uncle that served in the Marines back in the day, like in the 2000s, early 90s,
Hmm.
and a grandpa that served in the Air Force, and that's to my knowledge. I don't know how much other people have served.
So is that one of the reasons why you joined too? Is because you had family members, or is it just because you decided you wanted a career field and the army was a good way to do that?
I think my uncle is probably the biggest part in it. Like seeing that he did that. I mean, that was the Marines, but I was looking more towards the Army. It's like it would be pretty cool to do that.
So what does he think of you joining the military and then you getting the exemption for your hair? What does he think about that?
Um, so it was one of those situations where, like, I had high hopes for it, but he was more on the other side of the spectrum with it, with like staying disciplined and whatnot. So it was a bit disappointing. But then, I mean, I looked at the reality of it, and not everyone's going to be happy with what I'm doing. So I don't
Yeah,
know.
that's true. Is your grandpa still alive?
Yeah, yeah.
So what does he think?
He thought it was pretty good. He was pretty supportive about it, and he thought it was pretty cool, pretty awesome.
I imagine he is very proud of you because I mean it has to be from a family perspective, it has to be pretty I don't even know the right words. I don't even have the words, but to see your family member go and support your family culture and win and just ask for that and just acknowledge you're by doing that you're acknowledging your family and you're acknowledging your heritage and that just has to make them so proud. I mean, I would think they're proud of you serving anyway, but then you having done that I think just adds another layer of like, can it get any better than this?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I'm so happy for you really and truthfully. I just think that is the best thing that they're doing for different cultures that they're allowing a little bit of expression even in uniform because I don't see any reason why there shouldn't be because girls have long hair and they're able to put it up and make it neat. And so if a guy has longer hair too, he can do the same. So I don't really see any difference when it comes to hair because girls get an exemption all day long, so
yeah.
for their hair they don't have to cut it, they don't have to make it short. I mean, they threatened me I don't know how many times, but I never did it. I was like, nope, ain't happening. They're like, you need to cut that hair before you go to basic training. I'm like, I'm not doing it. They're like, you need to cut your hair. You're just going to suffer. And I'm like, well, then I'll suffer. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I think that's really great. So did you finish college? Or are you still in college? You mentioned college.
So I've been in college for about a year before I left to basic training. And so whenever we went on spring break, it was March of 2020. So we went on spring break, COVID happened, and
Yeah.
we ended up having to move out of the dorms and went to online. And online just, I'm one of those that can't do online at all. Just, I don't know. So I ended up going to basic training that summer and going to EIT. So I've been gone for like 8 to like 9 months at that time. And I tried going back to college, but it was still online. So I was like, yeah, I can't do this. But I just recently am applying to go back to college, and I do one of the general education classes this summer.
Yeah. So are you still going in the lane of corrections or criminal justice, or are you thinking about something else?
I think so. Yeah, it'll be what the major is. It's criminal justice, but law enforcement emphasis.
Mhm.
So right now, it's with my job. I work 8-hour shifts, 5 days a week. So I still have time to get classes done and whatnot before work because I'm at the night shift.
Yeah.
So I don't go to work till 2:30 in the afternoon. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna make time to go to classes, still do my job, and it'll be cool to walk across that stage, get that diploma, and then eventually down the road, I think go into law enforcement. And yeah, I think my biggest goal is to hopefully like sheriff or run for that at least to have the
Run for
qualifications
sheriff?
to go for that. Yeah,
That'd
that's a
be so cool.
pretty big goal, but something like that would be
But
awesome.
it's doable. But
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
doable, you know? You've already won this battle for this exemption, the sky's the limit in my book.
yeah.
Yeah. I see great things happening for you because I think that you're
Thank you.
very steadfast and you're patient. Like you said, you're patient. So I think that gives you a leg up on a lot of other people because some other people aren't patient, and if they're told no once, all right, I'm done. That's it. But like I was telling you about the other guest I had, that he was persistent too. He tried 16 times and finally he was accepted. And that's persistence, and persistence pays off. So you being persistent about asking or just being steadfast in your mission says everything.
Yeah.
So could you be sheriff? Yes, you could.
Yeah.
And I'd vote for you if I was there. I'd vote for you
Thank you.
because I think you'd be great. I really do. I think you have the right personality and the right demeanor to be in that role and be in that job. And then I think you'd be very effective.
Thank you.
And I can see how you're a really good service member too. I mean, I can tell that your dedication to service and country is everything to you, as well as it is service to your Indian nation as well. Your Native American culture. You're steadfast in that too, and I think that says a lot about who you are as a person.
Cool. Thank you.
You're welcome. So we've got probably about 12 minutes of the show left. I'm not going to play a final song. So I wanted to open it up for you and for you to just talk about anything that you wanted to talk about. If there's something we didn't talk about that you want to address, the floor is yours to talk about it.
I think growing up on the reservation and going through a lot of stuff I've gone through really kind of builds who I am. I know the way I saw it was either two routes. One was going down the road of getting into alcohol, getting into drugs, and all the negative aspects of it.
Yeah.
But I think I just kind of looked around, and instead of having role models where I was like, I want to be like that person, I want to be like that person. It was more of I don't want to be like that. I don't want my life to be like that. So it was it's definitely kind of tough. There's some moments where it was tough to keep that mindset, but all I had to do is just keep the ball rolling, just keep moving with everyday life, and stay focused on the goal and whatnot. And then with growing up like that, having that mindset also made me kind of like humble in a way, you know. Like I'd say, especially whenever I have a stressful day from work or whatever, I'm
Mhm.
always like, well, like, you know, I have a place of my own, I have transportation, like just being grateful for the simple things in life, you know, being healthy, being able to go do this or do that, like, and just kind of being in the position I am now with being in the military, being a supervisor at the jail with being this young. I think it really kind of makes me grateful for, like, you know, where I'm at now and what I've been through, you know. I could,
Yeah.
I could be like, oh, I wish I didn't go through this in my life, you know, all the bad stuff and whatnot. But I think it really made me who I am, and really kind of made me, kind of give me a strong heart, a brave heart, if you would say.
Right, right. I agree. I do agree. But it's really about perspective. And I think you're right. You can see things on the negative side all day long, and it's pretty easy to go that route. It's harder to look for the positive, and it's harder to stay positive and to stay focused and to keep moving one step at a time, even if it's a small step. Any step forward is progress. It doesn't matter how small the step is what's important.
Yeah.
And so you've just kind of proved that over and over. And then I can just hear that, you've got a plan, that you're executing that plan, and that, you're going to work things to the good for yourself and for your family. um, you know in this tumultuous time, you're focused, and that's what's important, is focus and drive and ambition and steadfastness, and you've got all of that. So I think the sky's the limit for you, honestly.
Well, thank you.
And I wish you luck on the promotion to E5, because I think they'll have a very good leader in you, and I think you'll make a great NCO.
Oh yeah, thank you. I'm looking forward to that.
The pay's not too bad either.
Yeah, yeah.
Always. But then there's always more schooling, right? Then you got to go to, what is it? Senior, what is it? They just changed all the terminology for all the leaders
Yeah,
courses.
so I know you.
SSC1, is that what it
Yeah.
is? Yes.
Oh, DLC, the online port. Well, I don't
Well,
know if it
you
still
have
is
to do
online.
some online stuff for the first phase, and then don't you do, because it used to be called PLDC, Primary Leadership Development Course, and now it's called
BLC.
SSTI
I know
what is
there's
it?
BLC from
Okay.
E4 to E5, but I think they recently just changed that to where like they kind of pushed a step to now you have to do that from E5 to E6.
Mm.
So, and like I know there's other classes too, whatever. Yeah.
Well, some of it's online, so don't let it scare you, okay?
Yeah, yeah, no. I definitely, especially after basic training and kind of being in the military for a while, definitely got a lot more discipline. And I could say
Mm.
just back in the day, it was just lack of discipline from not doing online classes.
Yeah, online's really hard, because, you don't have the reach back. I mean, you do sort of, but not real time reach back, if you have problems or you need help. And then you have to make sure that you set aside enough time to get all that stuff done, because sometimes you run out of time. You're like, oh, I'll do it later. And then I'll do
Yeah.
it later. And then later comes and it's like, I haven't done it. And now it's due in like an hour. So then you're struggling. So it's about time management when you're doing the online stuff, and it's really hard to kind of just, you know, work out your schedule to make it work and for you to dedicate some time. So I understand about the online stuff. I just finished my master's, and so and it was all online. So I understand the struggle, because you've got 10
Yeah.
other things pulling you in 10 other directions. So it really is, you have to stay focused, and it's kind of hard. So, is there anything you would tell somebody else that's in your position? They're needing an exemption, wanting an exemption. What would you tell them? What advice would you give to them?
I think it's easy to kind of give in to people's opinion and really put some thought to people's opinion. But I mean, it's like I always try to look at the reality of things. Like, you know, you're not going to make everyone happy. You're not going to make everyone proud because everyone's entitled to their own opinion, you know. And
Right.
just because people have their own opinions, that shouldn't affect what you want to do and shouldn't affect your goal. Like, you know, it's easier to be like, oh, well, this person doesn't approve it, especially if like if a role model of yours, or if someone that you really care and very thoughtful of what they think about you, really can come into play. But I think whatever you want to do, whatever you're passionate about, like just follow through with it.
That's good advice. Just follow through. I mean, because a lot of people don't follow through. So just saying that piece of it is so important, because once you start something, finish it. It may take you a while, but finish it. Because you can do it. And even if it's really small steps and really small progress is still progress at the end of the day. So that's very good advice. I think people would be wise to listen.
Yeah.
Well, so is there anything else you want to impart? Any more words of wisdom that you would give to anybody, or just anything you want to talk about or say?
Dang. Nothing that I could really think of right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you have anybody else that's in so do you go to powwows and things like that? I mean, do you have a good support system in the Lakota tribe?
Yeah, usually like during the summer, whenever there's ceremonies, I go to like the sweats or the Nipis,
Mm-hmm.
and then like with the powwows going on, I usually go down there. And then I wanted to reach out to some people that I know that do that with the powwows, that dance at powwows, and
Yeah.
actually get into that. And then the style that I wanted to get into, the regalia and whatnot, the outfit is pretty expensive.
It's impressive. Yeah. It's like, man, I don't know who made that, but that is awesome. Like, that is something. And I would be so tired. Those dances are so energetic. Like they're so fast and there's so much movement. It's like, I would be exhausted.
Yeah, I think my favorite is probably fancy dancing.
Fancy dancing. I'm gonna have to look it up, but I've seen a lot of the different dances and I'm just so impressed. They just wow me every single time. It doesn't matter how many times I've seen them. The other thing I like is the Indian racing. I think they call it Indian pony racing, where
Indian relay races.
Yes, there it is. That's
Yeah.
what I think. That's impressive. Like, I ride horses, but I would kill myself if I tried to do all that stuff. Like
It's
those
definitely
guys are so athletic. It's just crazy.
yeah,
Have
it's
you ever
wild.
tried that?
No, I haven't.
I'm
It'd
like,
be
those
cool to though.
Yeah, I was like, those dudes are crazy, because like I would just fall flat. That horse would be running off without me and I'd be flat in the dirt.
Yeah.
Well, it's been so great to talk to you. I really appreciate you coming on the show. And I know you're probably kind of thinking, who is this person reaching out to me and why? And so I'm really happy that you went ahead and decided to come on, and that I got a chance to talk to you, because I really am impressed by you and your story. And I really think you're going to go a long way. I really do. And I see bright things in your future.
Cool. Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Well, this is Tracer Rounds. We're going to sign off, and thank you for joining us tonight. And that'll be the end of the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Military Broadcast Radio. As we wrap up today's show, we want to remind you that the podcast of today's episode will be available right after we go off the air. So if you missed any part of the show, or want to listen again, be sure to check it out. And remember, we're here to support and honor our veterans. Your stories and experiences matter, and we are committed to giving you a platform to share them. That's right, we're here to give our veterans a voice. So don't forget to catch the podcast and stay connected with us, giving our veterans a voice.